I'm here over at ATN with Etienne. And Etienne, I go back to 1992.
That's right.
Etienne, the O-Star.
Your style, 1992. Yes.
You were sailing the early
40
version
yes.
of your yellow monster.
40-foot trimaran, Green Marine, from Green Marine.
That's right. So you knew me as a youngster before most of our viewers even knew I existed.
Okay.
What was your impressions when you first met me as that kid?
That you were very, very gutsy. And that was wonderful. It really was. Because you came from the farthest point. The boat was very challenging, but nothing seemed to take you down. I thought it was just fantastic. This is wonderful. It was such an example, shining example for whomever wanted to achieve something. Yeah, it was great.
So we did the O-Star, and I don't remember how you finished in the race.
I finished 7th. I was the first non-sponsored boat to finish. Neal, I still hold the record for class 4. I got there, ahead of me are only 60 footers. This is a 40 footer. I finished ahead of all the 50 footers. I finished ahead of Mike Birch, who had a 40 foot boat too. And to this day, I still hold the class 4
40-foot record.
40 foot record, 16 days, 6 hours, 45 minutes.
Wow.
That's never been beaten.
What is one of the greatest lessons that you've learned out of the sailing?
Well, I mean, things like you, self-reliance, and the ability of traveling around our planet on a cheap budget, let's say, economically.
Well, it's not that cheap anymore.
Not anymore, this is true. But the class 4, when I did that race in 1982, the class 4 was the one that it was the cheapest fee to entry, because of course I was non-sponsored. And also, you didn't have to have an engine, you didn't have to have a radar, you didn't have to have anything.
Right.
The boat was like a moped. You could just show up and go sailing on a very simple. So that was great. That was really attractive.
And so, Etienne, one of the things that you actually did was, in that era, I was financially struggling, and you made me a sock.
Spinnaker sleeve, yeah.
A sleeve, and that sock I ended up not only using in the O-Star, I used it in my first BOC challenge, in my first round the world race. And then when that sail blew out, I put a new sock in it for the 1998. So basically, I have raced around the world with your sock.
All right, excellent.
And it's one of these pieces of gear. You make it, you put it in, you forget about it. You have built such an incredible business on these socks.
Well, I made 30,000 of them. And I cater to the sailmakers, North Sail, Substat, Quantum, Doyle. To this day, most of the Vendée Globe guys have my sleeve, still my spinnaker sleeve. So that's still the core of my business, is still the spinnaker sleeve. That still is what I do. I have added other products, as you can see.
Like now, sort of the nets.
The nets, and also my tacker, to go up the mast on your own, my mast climber, my storm jib, my gale sail. And all of those products are very specific niche products that I do here at the shop. So it's great. I think what I like the most about that sailing world that we live on is that it's very creative and it evolves.
Well, we're seeing some remarkable evolutions of what's happening. If we look at Brian Thompson's Hugo Boss today, it is no longer a sailing boat, it's a flying ocean machine.
That's right.
And we'll continue with the America's Cup to see these changes. But still, at the end of the day, we are the old Corinthians. We are the old grey-haired men in the days of iron men and wooden ships.
Yeah, okay, like Jean-Luc.
Jean-Luc, and look at what Jean-Luc has done with these non-stop around the world race, and again, going to the top of these masts multiple times because of the damage he had suffered in the knockdown using your mast climbing system. But one of the things that I am seeing is the resilience of out there. We have no choice.
That's right.
When things go wrong, we've got to fix it. And you have faced a lot of challenges, and including you capsized not too long ago and lost the old boat.
Yeah, I lost the boat, yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
Well, the experience is the bottom end, the end feeling from such an experience is that you feel really, really dumb. Extremely dumb, because it's a mistake of overconfidence. You know that when you single hand, You have to push yourself constantly. You have to keep minimizing the danger ahead of you, otherwise you just go cruising or you won't win the race. And the Route du Rhum is very much a race.
And you did it on the Route du Rhum.
And this is Route du Rhum 2010. And I was a victim, I was guilty of over self-confidence. And I thought that it was going to be fine, it was not going to happen to me, and I went sailing. Instead of sailing in the cockpit, which you always do, because single-handed, because you sail in the cockpit, especially on the multi-hull. Multi-hull, you have to be right by the main sheet, right by the sheet, right there. You sleep with the main sheet in your hand. I didn't do that. This was the second half of the race with a great, beautiful weather, warm, pleasant, off the wind, downwind, and you get those squalls coming at you. And because they come from behind you, they come silently, very silently. And I was deeply sleeping.
Below deck.
Below deck instead of doing this in the cockpit. And I didn't have the time to get back up on the cockpit to release the sheet. So I was below, I was on my way up out of the boat. I was at the bottom of the ladder to get out on the cockpit when the boat started to spin around me.
And you pitch bowled?
No, I didn't pitch pole, I went sideways.
Okay, you rolled.
Sideways I rolled. What's amazing about this, the first time this happened to me, I dismissed a couple of times, this and that, but this was my first capsize. But when we do that type of racing, it's always in the back of your mind.
Yes, because we know the risks.
You know people who's done it, people that happen, they willingly tell you that story, it's a good story to drink a beer and spend some time with the buddies. So you know that it might happen to you, not only that, but also mentally you prepared. I was somewhat amazed at my calmness all through the ordeal, because I knew, today happened to me, it's my turn. And I never lost my footing, as the boat, middle of the night, of course, 3 o'clock in the morning.
It always happens in the middle of the night. Disasters never happen in perfect conditions, perfect daylight.
So the boat spun, right? The boat went sideways like this. The mainsail slowed the boat down a bit, and then the boat kept on going around. And I never lost my footing, and the water kept going up to here, so I said, oh, what do I do now? Happened to me.
And then you're sitting on the hull.
And then I opened the hatch, because multi-hull you have to have that escape hatch. So I opened the hatch, I got my life raft out, I got the few things I could gather. I blew the life raft out. Okay. No, because, bear with me on the e-bird thing. So I had my life raft self-inflate, just pulled the plug, the thing inflated. I had to attach the life raft onto the boat, because it was windy then, it was 25, 30 knots of air, and the thing wanted to walk off, of course. So I had to lash it in. I threw some things in it, I kept diving back to get things. Now, this being a trimaran, when the thing flips over, none of the transmission, the Route du Rhum at the race IQ.
So the reporting system.
So suddenly they say, whoa, ATN doesn't report anymore. Something happened. Had I been a monohull, I would have kept emitting, because the monohull would have lighted up and stuff. And you would keep so that's the only thing they knew, is that, something happened. At that point, he stopped reporting. Maybe it's nothing, but something happened. But when you do that type of racing, as you know, they make you fill up a ditch bag. In the ditch bag is a GPS, is a phone, loaded up phone, the same phone you've been using, same number you're using. Some water, a few things, So I was operational, I could call up and say, hey, something happened to me.
Send help.
And the
if
water
help was available.
Yeah, well, it's not like doing the BOC or the Vendée, the Route du Rhum, you're in the middle of warm ocean.
Yep.
So I was dressed like that. So that was just fine. I didn't even use my survival suit.
No, it's too warm for the survival suit.
Too warm for survival suit.
Yep. And you were picked up by a fellow competitor or picked up by a ship?
No, I was picked up by a ship. Luckily, that ship that came from France, a big container ship, came from Le Havre, up on the channel, and he was going to Pointe-à-Pitre.
So
he just slowed down, turned around, found me, picked me up, and kept going at 25 knots, direction to Pointe-à-Pitre. I got to Pointe-à-Pitre much earlier than I would have.
Yeah, unfortunate conditions.
But I got to point a bit ahead of the winner of my class. You say, whoa, what are you doing here? Well,
Got a lift.
I got a lift. But I had you were asking me how does it feel? When the most difficult moment is when I went up, when they picked me up, I immediately went up on the bridge, 6 or 7 stories up on the bridge, say thank you to the skipper,
captain,
meet the skipper and such. And then the skipper said, well, we got you now, so we're going to keep going. So I went to the wing and looked at my boat disappear in the...
True sense of loss.
That was a moment. It was a lovely boat. It was a super boat.
Well, you've had such a history with the boat and so many stories behind the boat. But this is what life is about. 30 years ago, Etienne and I met. We were both young. We had our full head of hair and full color in our hair. But here we are now, older men of the sea. But I also like to say older, wiser, and way more experienced at dealing with whatever life will deal and throw at us. Etienne continues to build ATN, his business. I continue to work in the investment arena and in the motivational speaking arena. We are always about taking risk and never being afraid of what the future can bring. Always being curious to what is possible. Because if we lose our curiosity, if we lose our sense of drive, if we lose our sense of purpose, we are not alive. It is time to turn off the technology and go out there and do the living that we have done. You and I probably have done more living than most of the viewers will do combined. Etienne,
That's quite pretentious, Neil.
well, we don't live vicariously. And so many people today live vicariously.
I think I know what you say. A lot of people, I met Florida is full of very wealthy people, and very often I can see them looking at me with some envy, because I didn't go the wealthy,
didn't chase the money,
chase the money.
Adventure.
No, I didn't do that. I just went and did my own things. And there they are saying, "Wow, I wish I'd done that."
That's right. And there are two things. You can't buy adventure, and you can't buy time. You have to use time wisely and live the best life you can live with the resources we've got and be so resourceful minded. And also it's about the relationships. We have not seen each other in 30 years, but yet we can pick up where we left off. We can pick up with these memories, with these stories, support each other, help each other, encourage each other. That is the nature of the sea. And that is what is so special about the generation that we become a part of and the family we were part of the high seas. Etienne, thanks for being a part of my family. Thanks for your support in the early days when I was struggling. And I'm glad that we can reconnect, and hopefully this is only the beginning of the next chapter in our lives.
Of course. That was wonderful, Neil. Super.
Good to see you again, Etienne.